It's always difficult to know what Formula One teams are up to in testing, as fuel loads, tyres, power modes, DRS, or even time, day, and wind direction can have a major input on laps. But what doesn't stop people from having a shot is what will happen when we get to Bahrain next week. So yeah, we kind of looked at the fastest driver's time and the fastest we can offset against other factors, and yeah, we can kind of take an estimated guess on who's where to try and equalise it out. We've looked at the tyre deficits as well. You'd say the C3 to the C4 is probably 5 tenths off. The C5 would probably be 3 tenths faster than that, but then the C3 would be 5 tenths quicker than the C2, and the C1 would probably be a second behind that. The logic behind the offset is that it's difficult to get the softer tyres to last a complete lap, but harder tyres don't have that problem, so they're just a little slower overall. So this is where I think we stand. It doesn't take into account fuel, as that would be difficult to guess. But yeah, this is an overall order from fastest to slowest, and starting off with the top car. And yeah, I would say Ferrari, are they title contenders? I probably wouldn't say so, but from the off they look really quick. It's long runs that make it fairly reasonable. Ferrari finished last year strongly and can continue the momentum into next year. Probably not quite ahead of Red Bull, but it is close. And yeah, they clearly did try and set a time rather than hiding its pace. But yeah, definitely good signs from Ferrari. Everyone thought Red Bull would look, the rest of the grid look like Formula 2 cars. But yeah, especially after day one, I don't think maybe they've quite progressed enough. But yeah, the car still looks good. And I think they probably will be back where they are last year. But I think it will be closer between them and Ferrari than many people anticipate. For Mercedes, this year's car is a very different version, both mechanically and aerodynamically. Even the engineers are saying it's a whole new learning curve, and the test shows that Mercedes is still learning about it. On track it looked fine, but still a bit nervous at points. But yeah, I don't think it will be quite on the level of the Ferrari and the Red Bulls just yet. Then we've got McLaren. The car looks stable with no big issues. Both drivers seem to be heading in the same direction with it. Actually, it was almost impossible to guess which driver was in car, and so that always bodes well for development direction. McLaren's confident it has a good positive development direction. Not what it currently has is good enough to be a challenger for podiums. I would so it's kind of nip and tuck with Mercedes in that battle behind the top two. Sauber also looked relatively good in testing. On the track, the car looked like it lacked a bit of grip, nothing desperate, but it just seems to use more road than others. After the first morning, Sauber seems to get on top of the balance though and introduce an under 4 for the second day. It's difficult to say how much better from it was from then, but yeah, I think it was an interesting step, and Zhou looked fairly good on low fuel at the end of the final day, and it came out of the blue. So yeah, I think Sauber's probably going up, and yeah, could be up there. Whether they'll be ahead of Aston Martin, I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe they weren't quite as good as we thought they'd be. They look stable and consistent, but we didn't really see lap times that you can see really comfortably getting them into the top 10. But I think except for that, I think there are still signs to be optimistic for Aston. Maybe a bit of a slow start though. The RB last year, Tsunoda ended the test 6th fastest, but came up for qualifying for the first race and ended up 14th. He and Ricciardo will be hoping there's no repeat of that slump, but RB's clearly better than last year, so I'm pretty sure it will be mixing towards the front end of the midfield. But yeah, there's still probably a bit of a gap to bridge. For Williams in 8th, I don't think it's very far out of place. The Williams from last year. We know Alex Albon's very good, but yeah, the question will be whether Logan Sargent can really deliver this time, because yeah, you have to finish first and you have to finish in the points position. For Haas, I think it's a similar story to Williams in that there's nothing inspiring on the car. It just looks stable and consistent, but probably slow to be honest. Haas were concentrating on race runs, which makes sense off last year, but yeah, it needs to get trials into Q3 regularly like last year and then stay there. And Alpine though, were the one team that you'd say had a difficult test. It looked inconsistent to drive. Watching it out on track, it looked like the drivers were trying too hard and making mistakes, and yeah, that really doesn't bode well at all. So yeah, the overall picture, for reference, the fastest time in testing in was 6 tenths slower than the pole time last year, but it does show the development and how far each car has come. And yeah, the field looks closer, but it's only one test, and we'll obviously get a much closer picture. But Red Bull and Ferrari look to be the top 2 teams, which will then see Mercedes, McLaren, and Aston behind. And then, yeah, Alpine looks to be at the back, rather surprisingly. And then RB, Sauber, Williams, and Haas should follow. But it will all depend on who gets things right next weekend and throughout to go. But yeah, definitely an intriguing test session. So anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily F1 news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.